Haksameach, everyone. This is Joe Dumont and Randy Cates from Tel Aviv in Israel on this, the seventh day of Unleavened Bread, the final day of Unleavened Bread in this controversial year of whether or not the barley is aviv. And I just got another report today, just moments ago. My friend Yoel Halevi has put out a report that there is no barley in the north and there is no barley in the Galilee. And then someone asked him, does he have pictures? And he said, well, I haven't really gone out yet. That's just my preliminary report. So you all have a job to do. Please enlighten everyone that there is flowering barley in the north. There is flagging barley in the north. In the Galilee, in the Jordan, there is worm and dough barley. Just let him know what's out there in case he wants to go out and take a drive. You can help save him some time by sending him my videos and my pictures of exactly where I was looking. So it will help save them some time. I have not had to say anything. Randy and I made our testimony. Our evidence is right there in our videos and in our pictures. So we're not going to get involved in the slander and name calling and that's going on. Please do share the pictures. Just, in the videos, screenshot, take a picture, say, hey, have you guys seen this? Joe did this on such and such a date. If they push the year to match it up with the Hillel calendar, then they will be 2 months out. So right now we're thinking about coming back for the, I don't know, sometime before their Passover in March and confirming that the barley is already shattered in all these different places. Because it's going to shatter within a week or two. It's that far advanced. And we showed you barley that was shattering already. In fact, this barley here behind me was taken 2 days ago, picture taken 2 days ago, and it was shattering. So just be aware of what people are saying and then confront them with the truth and do it politely. And that's all you have to do. The facts speak for themselves. So today is a Wave Sheaf day. Here, the sun just set moments ago. Randy just caught a beautiful picture of our glider going into the sunset. Unbelievable picture. Wow, what a spectacular moment. But it's now, the day is now finished for us. So we finished our unleavened bread and we are getting ready to stay up all night to be with you guys and teach you some things today. This is the seventh day of unleavened bread, but it's also Wave Sheaf Day. So there's a double meaning to this day, a double purpose for this day this year. Wave Sheaf Day is generally the Sunday during the days of unleavened bread. We'll get into that. But what happened today? What is the purpose of today? So we've got 2 chapters in Exodus we're going to read, and I'm going to read them. And before we do, I'm going to ask Randy, who's here with me, to do the opening prayer. And I'm going to turn off my mic and my hearing.
Oh, Yehovah, what an awesome, exciting God you are. What an awesome God. You are not a God of the dead. You are not a fairy tale God. You are the creator of everything. And you care about little old me. You care about little old us here in this group, Father. And we just can't. I can't imagine. I'm just so excited. Your feast days. There is nothing like serving you, my God. The excitement every day, the knowing, the knowing. I used to be in a place where you didn't know. Am I going to live forever? What is this? What is that? No, Father, you spell it out so simply, so easy for us. You make it easy for us because you love us. You don't want to confuse us. You don't want to complicate things. It's us that do that. And Father, just forgive us for doing that. But today is a celebration. This is your feast today. There is no deadness in you whatsoever, Lord. So in my spirit, I just can't help it but just say thank you, thank you, thank you for this group of people right here, those, Lord, who are truly seeking you in spirit and in truth. Lord, we are not coming against nobody. We are just proclaiming you, and then we just leave it, because your spirit is enough. We don't need anything else but you. We don't need anything else but your word, and you have confirmed it. It is pure. It is distilled. It is the best of the best. So we just thank you and praise you for opening our eyes today. And again, let us today celebrate you with every ounce of being that we have, Father. In all praise, honor, and glory go to you as we again lift up your mighty, magnificent name, Yehovah, today. In your precious, precious name, Yeshua, amen.
Thank you, Randy. So we're going to start, and then we're going to start talking about some other things, but we're going to start here. I'm going to do just a little twist here for a moment. I want to go to Genesis, and I'm going to go Genesis 37, verse 8. Oh, I didn't share my screen. I'm sorry. Genesis 37, verse 8. And his brother said to him, shall you indeed reign over us, or shall you indeed have the ruler over us? And they hated him still more for his dreams and his words. Why? Verse 37 tells you that they were binding sheaves in the middle of the field, and lo, his sheaf arose and stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood around and bowed down to my sheaf. Now, this is a prophecy about Joseph, but they're talking about sheaves. It's kind of interesting. Verse 20, we'll jump down there. Therefore, come now and let us kill him and throw him into this pit, and we will say some evil beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. How is that connected to what this day is? I'm just throwing that out there to you. I want you to think about it. And you can go to your church, or you can go someplace where they'll tell you everything that you're supposed to think. I want you to figure this out. What is this talking about? What does it represent? And what does it mean? It's a prophecy. Do you understand it? Now, throwing that out here at the very beginning, dang, I hate when Joe does it. Now I got to think. Exodus 14. Exodus 14. So we've read everything up till now about the Exodus story, and we've brought it to the point where they came to the Red Sea. Today, the seventh day of Unleavened Bread is what we're about to read today. And you've all experienced this week, the back and forth, I don't know, what do I do? Again, they were following the cloud here. And when they came to the place Ethan, which is to the west of Elat, they were just supposed to go right around Elat. It's half a day's walk, or not even that. They could have walked over and been in what is now Saudi Arabia and been out of Egypt. But instead, Moses takes a right-hand turn and goes south into the canyons and gets what, Pharaoh says he got lost in the land. And the people behind him were like the people here this week. Well, what do we do? We're supposed to be going the other way. How come we're going down here? What's going on? Is Moses crazy? Is he drunk? What's going on? Instead of having faith and just following the cloud. Now, I'm making that part up about them grumbling, but I know who they are, or because I hear about them later on, and I know who you are today, and I hear the same things. You want to have Passover. You want to know that you're keeping Passover at the right time, and you're not going to do it on faith. So that was a test we've had this year about faith. They're having a test here now following Moses. 14 verse 1. And Yehovah said to Moses, saying, speak to the sons of Israel that they turn and camp before Hiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal Zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the sons of Israel, they are tangled in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will follow them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his army, so that the Egyptians may know that I am Yehovah. And they did so. And the king of Egypt was told that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made his chariot ready and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains over every one of them. And each chariot had 3 men. And it's estimated that there were 600,000 soldiers in this group going after them. And Yehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the sons of Israel, and the sons of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army. And they overtook them camping by the sea beside Pihahiroth before Baal Zephon. And Pharaoh drew near. The sons of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were afraid. And the sons of Israel cried out to Yehovah. And they said to Moses, have you taken us away? See, here's the grumbling part. Have you taken us away to die in the wilderness because there was no graves in Egypt? Why have you dealt this way with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Did we not tell you this word in Egypt, saying, let us alone, so that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Does any of this sound familiar to this past week? And Moses said to the people, do not fear, stand still and see the salvation of Yehovah, which he will prepare for you this day. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall never see them any more. And Yehovah shall fight for you, and you shall be silent. And Yehovah said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Speak to the sons of Israel that they go forward. But lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the sons of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And behold, I'm about to harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will get honor for me upon Pharaoh and upon all his army, upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yehovah, when I have gotten honor for me upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. And the angel of God, the one who went before the camp of Israel, moved. And he went to the rear of them, and the pillar of cloud went from in front of their face and stood behind them. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloudy and dark night, but it lit up the night, so that the one did not come near the other all night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yehovah caused the sea to recede by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. The sons of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on the right hand and on the left. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them to the middle of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And in the morning watch it happened that Yehovah looked to the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the army of the Egyptians. And he took off their chariot wheels and made them go heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yehovah fights for them against the Egyptians. And Yehovah said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and Yehovah overthrew the Egyptians in the middle of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots, and the horsemen, all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There did not remain so much as one of them. But the sons of Israel walked upon dry land in the middle of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. So Yehovah saved Israel that day out of the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which Yehovah did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared Yehovah and believed Yehovah and his servant Moses. Exodus 15, verse 1. Then the sons of Moses and Israel sang this song to Yehovah and spoke, saying, I will sing to Yehovah, and he will triumph, and he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. Yehovah is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will glorify him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. Yehovah is a man of war. Yehovah is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has thrown into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yehovah, has become glorious in power. Your right hand, O Yehovah, has dashed the enemy in pieces. And in greatness of your excellency, you have overthrown them that rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, consuming them like stubble. And with the blast of your nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright like a heap. The depths were curdled in the hearts of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, and my hand shall destroy them. You blew with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead into the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yehovah, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your right hand, and the earth swallowed them. In your mercy, have led forth the people which you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. The people shall hear, being afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the people of Philistia. Then the princes of Edom were terrified. Trembling seized upon the mighty men of Moab. All the people of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of your arm, they shall be still as a stone, until your people pass over, O Yehovah, until the people whom you have purchased passed over. You shall bring them and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, the place, O Yehovah, you have made for you to dwell in, the sanctuary, O Yehovah, which your hands have established. Yehovah shall reign forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and with his horsemen into the sea, and Yehovah brought again the waters of the sea upon them. But the sons of Israel went on dry land in the middle of the sea. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing to Yehovah, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. And Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days into the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah because it was bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried to Yehovah. And Yehovah showed him a tree. And when he had cast the tree into the waters were made sweet. There he made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. And he said, if you will carefully listen to the voice of Yehovah your God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and he will give ear to his commandments, and keep his laws, I will put none of the diseases upon you which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am Yehovah who heals you. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the waters. So this is what took place today, on this day, the 7th day of unleavened bread, and then the next 3 days after. And that's what I wanted to share with you today, this morning, and we're going to share some more here this afternoon. Again, what does Genesis 37:8 got to do with any of this? Have you figured it out yet? In here, verse 8, and with the blast of your nostril, the waters were gathered together. The flood stood upright like a heap. A heap. How do you heap up water? How do you go across on dry land? It's too cold for the barley to grow. All these things are connected together. It's cold here. I had my sweater on all afternoon. We went for a walk on the beach. The water's warm. We walked on dry ground or wet ground. When Yehovah blew his nostrils across the water, he formed glaciers on both sides. The foam, what verse is the foam in? I forgot to write that down. The foam looked like curdled milk. That curdled milk is snow and ice churning in the water. The dry ground is frozen. It's frozen ground for Israel. By the time the Egyptians get there, the ground is breaking up and breaking in pieces, became heavy, and the wheels come off, and the chariots are dragging heavy in the soil or the mud. That's what took place this day. Now we read in there about Israel being redeemed. Yehovah redeemed us. Yehovah purchased us. He purchased us. He owns us. The great Redeemer. Why did he have to buy us, and who did he pay for us? He paid Satan with the Egyptians and with the firstborn. So this day is a special day. It's Wave Sheaf Day. We commemorate the Wave Sheaf part, but we don't look at the other part here. Again, what did Moses do when they came to the water, the bitter waters? Now this is the 2-3 chapters in the book, the 10 Days of Awe. The bitter water made sweet. Moses brought Israel out from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah because it was bitter. Therefore, the name was called Marah. Verse 25. And he cried to Yehovah, and Yehovah showed him a tree. Yehovah showed him a tree. Yehovah didn't tell him to do anything with the tree. There's a tree. What do you do with the tree? The tree is thrown in the water. And it's said that the tree stood on the water. The waters became sweet. What is the waters that are bitter? The waters represent the people. Who are the bitter ones? Is it the water or the people? In the Hebrew, it's ambiguous. It could be either one or both. What made the people sweet? What made the water sweet? The tree. What's the tree? The Torah. the word. And then right after that, what do we read right after that? Oops, wrong one. Waters made sweet. There he made a decree and a law for them. So this law at Mount Sinai was already established here. He made a decree and a law with them. And there he tested them. Again, we had a test this year with you in keeping the Passover. And he said, if you will carefully listen to his voice of Yehovah, your God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments. What commandments? He hasn't given them the commandments yet. That's still at Mount Sinai. What's he talking about? They knew the commandments and keep all his laws. What laws? Mount Sinai, this is before Mount Sinai. I will put none of the diseases upon you, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. When were those diseases of the Egyptians going to be brought upon them? In these last days, right now. And you are witnessing those Egyptian plagues right now, but you don't even know what they are. The first one, turning the water to blood. What is that? That is drought, causing the rivers to dry up and to stink. The stagnant waters. I have a report yesterday that the waters and reservoirs in Spain are drying up. The dams are empty. Already, it's February. The curses of Egypt are already happening around the world, and you need to learn what they are so that you can appreciate what you're being protected from. If you haven't figured out Joseph yet, Joseph represents Yeshua, who's killed. So let's now go and do this other part. Has anyone got any questions about what I've said so far before I move out into the next part? About the Exodus or anything like that?
Well, the part you said about the tree stood on the water, that sounds like Yeshua walking on water.
I never made that connection. That's a good one. Yeah. Now, does it actually say the tree stood on the water? And he murmured against it and cried to Yehovah and cast it into the waters, and the waters were made sweet. So I'm getting it stood on the waters from the teaching that Rabbi David Foreman did about this. And it's quite intriguing. It's very enlightening. And I asked him if I could quote much of what he said in his teaching in our book, which I did. But where he stops, I continued into the book of Revelation. And on either sides of the waters, where Revelation 20, I believe it is, the tree of life. We talked about this yesterday. What's the tree of life? The tree of life is the Torah, the commandments. Right? So that's what Yehovah's telling them to keep. So here we are doing that again. Here you and I are. We have been called out of this world. We were so happy doing the whatever sins and crimes we were in. And he chose us in these last days. And he's revealed these things to us. And Randy and I look at each other and we're just kind of gobsmacked here, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Why has he allowed us to see these things? Why were we given such privilege to go down into a area that's closed off because of a war and to see the obvious? It's amazing. It's amazing.
Another thing I saw was you read somewhere about when they were throwing him into the pit.
What? Throwing Joseph into the pit?
Yeah. Something about there was an evil one or a bad one who devoured him in the pit. Anyhow, that's the perception, right? That when Jesus died on the cross, that it was Satan that was winning. That's the perception is that if this is your Messiah and your Messiah died, then I guess he's not really the Messiah, right? Or how can he didn't overcome evil? But that's because we aren't at the end of the story yet.
That's right. So in Daniel 9:24, it says all these things are going to end. You know, sin and all these different things in Daniel 9:24, but they haven't ended yet. That is at the end of the 70th week, at the end of the 70th Jubilee, then they all end.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that's, they have not, the story's not over yet. And you get to be part of the story. Any other questions on what we've talked about so far?
I sort of do. Just in my mind, I've always had that when I'm reading scripture, the second greater Exodus. And like for a little while, there's been a few years back, and maybe not even a few years back, Joe. I'm not good on time, but I remember there were swarms of locusts and eating fields. And I remember the reports of some of the waters that had turned red, not necessarily turned into blood, but have been red rivers and things like that. And some of it can be hype now and then, so you have to be super careful what you're reading and whether it's fact or not. You got to dig a lot. But what I'm having trouble wrapping my head around is that they were prisoners and slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. And I get the whole slavery thing, I don't want to get into any of that, like Americans and all around the world. I get all that, okay? But what I don't get, and I understand there's his chosen, what I don't get is how hard it is to pick this stuff apart for the average person, because it's supposed to be like a child can understand. So I'm trying to be, I understand like the foam and the water standing, I get all that. What I'm having trouble with is wrapping my head around it being the correlation exactly. And
It
I
being the
want
what?
I want to see exactly what you're seeing. Like, for example, Glenn mentioned, the cattle and the fires in Texas. We're seeing all kinds of things. So what I'm asking you is, do you think it's just so much greater than what it was and all over the world that it's really impossible almost to get how these things are actually happening for the average person, or for them to see it? Because I thought that Father wanted everybody to know he's Father. He's doing this so they know he's Abba, he's our creator. So that's what I'm kind of asking is like, if
He's
only
called
his
you, he's
chosen are
called you
seeing
to
it.
be a witness. In order for
Right,
you to be a witness, you have to understand what he was doing at the first 10 plagues. You have
right,
to go back and study each of those plagues and what was he doing. It wasn't just a plague. The plague represented the gods of Egypt, all 10 gods.
right.
You understand those 10 gods, what they were then, and how they've been manifested into today's society. Then all you have to do is say, well, okay, he attacked that god that way. What is it? What's he doing with that god today? Is it similar or is it a little bit different? It can be both, but you have to understand that before you can be a witness. If you don't understand it, it's just climate change or global warming.
No, well, I know. I'm just saying, I remember us studying that about each God, but I'm saying, and then now we're going step by step, going through the study. And I think that's important because, life does help us. Life gets interference for us to be able to step back and say, okay, this is going on and this represents this God and this understanding. And I want to focus more on that, Joe. I want, and I know that this study helps us do that. But I have trouble, like, we know the whole drought thing going on. Okay, and then what God would that go with? Would it be the Nile God? I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking is more of it.
In the 10 days of awe, at the end
Yeah,
of I go through each god and what they represent and who they were.
Right.
Basically, it's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Those are the three gods that are being destroyed by Yehovah. The Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The
Okay.
Father being Ham, the Son being Ham or Cush and Nimrod, or Nimrod and Horus. The Holy Ghost is Noah's wife. So that's the three gods that he's destroying, but there's 10 different manifestations of them. And on the Egyptian boat, there's always 10 gods depicted there. So those are the 10 gods he's destroying. You've got to, we explained it in the 10 Days of Awe. It's a big book, but you got to read it. To give you a 5-minute mem here, no, it's not going to happen. Yehovah requires you to study into his word, to study into history, to understand. It takes time. The more time you want to spend with whatever distractions are distracting you, the less time you're going to spend learning about him. We're in the final moments before the exam, the final exam.
I think that's maybe where I'm missing, is to actually read that book, because when we've covered it here, like in the meetings, I get it, because I mean, I knew these things before, but I haven't read that book. So I'll backtrack. I need to order the book, get it, and put it in front of me. And yeah, my distractions are not like computer stuff. My distractions are the normal life stuff, but caring for people and things like that. But I need to definitely spend that time reading that book, because I think maybe that's what I'm missing, because most of the people in our group have taken the time to read the book. So it's easier.
We're coming into the final 10 Days of Awe, the final 10 years of judgment. And we've come to that understanding because of the sabbatical and jubilee cycles.
Right.
This is a unique gift that Yehovah has given us, and to see things from a different perspective, and that sheds light. Because I've said to him many times, you cannot destroy this world without warning them. Well, he has warned them.
Mm.
They're not listening. And then I've also said to them, you can't destroy this world and not have any witnesses. If people don't know what they're looking at, how will they see this? How will they know it's him? So that's where all of us come into play here. We have to be understanding of these things. And, I've been trying to explain it, and then I get tired of people bashing me. So I just walk away for a little bit and let you
Don't
figure it
walk
out.
away though, Joe. Don't go. I mean, because some people, it just takes a little bit longer. And like I said, now I know where that's my deficit, I think, is the book. And because I've gotten so much other from you that's helped me, and I've connected it, it's just, I worry about others connecting it and me being able to present it to others in the right way, because I don't even want to speak if I'm going to get something wrong.
But it's not just the book, it's understanding Yehovah. So, you open up your Bible, you gotta read it, you gotta understand the history of it. So anyway, that's the 10 gods. They're there. It's not rocket science, like some of the things I've studied in the mythology and trying to understand who these different gods were has led me to understand all of this. So it's Yehovah's working with me over a number of years. Okay, so any other questions before I move out into the next part? Okay. So today at 9 a.m. this morning, that was a long time ago for us already. We've already had a full day here. 9 a.m. this morning, they go and do a ceremony. Well, actually, it started last night. So at sunset last night, they do the ceremony. We do this every year. And maybe I'll get Glenn to do it this year. He can be the high priest this year, and he can shout it out, get all his clan there yelling back at him. It's called the Wave Sheaf ceremony. Okay, so on Wave Sheaf Day, it begins last night. And we tried to do it. It was too windy out there where we were going to do it. And so it didn't come across very well, but that's what it is. It's Wave Sheaf ceremony. So you go out after sunset, and the whole community goes out to do this. And the priest says, has the sun set? Because it has to be after sunset. And the community says, yes, the sun is set. And they do this 3 times. Has the sun set? Yes, the sun has set. Has the sun set? Yes, the sun has set. And I start doing this. I look at the crowd and they're all getting, oh, this is a little kind of annoying. 3 times. He wants me to say it 3 times. And when I do it, people start laughing how silly they look. And then they get into the spirit of it and they start shouting it out. Get this over with, for crying out loud. So on the day before Sabbath, they go out and they mark the barley. They put a ribbon around it so that after sunset, they'll know which patch of barley is to be cut. Why? Because the patch beside it is still flowering or in flagging or is in worm, but is not aviv yet. You're not going to have fields of barley in aviv. You're going to have it various stages. And that's what wild barley, Randy and I seen this all over the place. Various stages, flowering, flagging, worm, dough, and small patches of aviv. Or
you could see it in your pictures when you showed the span behind you where there were little hummocks of hills. You could see the barley was ripe. And then when they went down again, they started to turn green and are shorter. You could see it.
Yeah.
The undulation of the field.
So that's what we showed you. And like Glenn said, you can see it. The evidence is there. I don't need to say anything. It's right there. There's the evidence. So that's why they put a ribbon around it so they know which barley to cut in the twilight zone as the sun sets. So is this the barley I shall cut? And the crowd all says, yes. Is this the barley I shall cut? And he points out another patch. Yes, says the crowd. Is this the barley I shall cut? Yes, says the crowd. Is this the sickle I shall cut the barley with? And the crowd all says, yes, this is the sickle you should cut the barley with. And 3 times, is this the sickle I should cut the barley with? And the crowd says, yes, this is the sickle you should cut the barley with. And the 3rd time, is this the sickle I should cut the barley with? And the crowd says, yes, this is a sickle. Are you all shouting it, or are you all just sort of waiting for me to get this over with? I haven't heard anybody. Then he asked them, is this the basket I should put the barley in? And the crowd all says,
yes.
Is this the basket I should put the barley in? And the crowd all says,
Yes.
Yes.
is this the basket I should put the barley in? And the crowd all says,
Yes.
shall I cut the barley? And the crowd all says,
Yes.
shall I cut the barley? And the crowd all says,
Do it.
Yes.
and shall I cut the barley? And the
Do it
crowd
already.
says,
Yes.
Yes, cut the
and
barley.
the priest cuts the barley, and he cuts enough barley to make an omer. And he puts it into a basket or into a number of baskets, and they take it to the temple and they stand it in stooks or stokes. Which is it, Kurt? Oh, he's gone to sleep again.
It's Dukes.
It's a stook.
Stooks. They put it in stooks, which means they're standing it up, leaning it against each other. And overnight, it sucks up the juice out of the stems. We got barley all over the car, different patches. We threw in the car, let it stay there overnight. Let's see what happens. Come out the next day, and it's rock hard. We never even showed that stuff. We got the car full of barley, never even showed it. The poor people are going to get the car to clean it. Yeah, so it gets hard overnight. Now, the next morning, they come in, they take the barley, take the heads, get the kernels out of the heads, roast the kernels, get any moisture out of them.
They beat the barley.
Well, yeah, I don't know exactly. I think they burn it out. Really?
Well, they thrash it. It's a threshing floor. They thresh it.
So that's something I got to figure out. How did they actually do this? And I haven't done that yet. So they've taken the barley and they've roasted it, get the moisture out of the dough, and it becomes hard. And then they take that barley, and let's go and read what we're supposed to do with it. We're going to go to Leviticus chapter 2. And this is what you do with the barley. This is the law for the grain offering. And when anyone will offer a food offering to Yehovah, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil on it and put frankincense on it. And he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, and he shall take out of it his handful of flour and its oil with all its frankincense. And the priest shall burn the memorial of it on the altar. So you take a handful and you put it on the altar and you burn it. An offering made by fire of a sweet savor to Yehovah. The rest of the food offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. So the Levitical priests eat the rest of this wave offering. And most holy of the offerings, most holy of the offerings of Yehovah made by fire. Why is this most holy? You should be asking that question. Why is this most holy? What is the meaning of this? Where is that? Verse 4. And if you bring a sacrifice of a food offering baked in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour mixed with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. And if your offering is a food offering on the griddle, your offering shall be of fine flour unleavened mixed with oil. You shall break it in pieces and pour oil on it. It is a food offering. And if your offering is a food offering in the frying pan, it shall be made of fine flour with oil. And you shall bring the food offering that is made of these things to Yehovah. And when it is presented to the priest, he shall bring it to the altar. And the priest shall take from the food offering a memorial of it, and shall burn it on the altar. It is an offering made by fire of a sweet savor of Yehovah. So what it's telling you here is you can take the barley at your place and make it into each of these different products. And then you can bring that product to the priest. Verse 10, and that which is left of the food offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is most holy of the offerings of Yehovah made by fire. Why? Why? You got to ask why. It doesn't tell you. Any food offering which you shall bring to Yehovah shall not be made with leaven. Okay, not be. For you shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of Yehovah made by fire. As an offering of the first fruits, you shall bring them to Yehovah, but they shall not be burned on the altar for a sweet savor. And every sacrifice of your food offering shall you season with salt. So oil, frankincense, and salt. And you shall not allow the salt of your covenant, the salt of the covenant of your God, to be lacking. Lots of salt from your food offering. You shall offer salt with all your offerings. And if you bring a food offering of your first fruits to Yehovah, green ears. What? Hang on. Everybody look at this, read the scripture, say it out loud with me. And if you bring of your food offering of your first fruits to Yehovah, green ears.
Green ears.
Roasted by fire.
Grains
of the garden, you shall bring near for a food offering your first fruits. What color is the barley?
green.
What color is that barley behind me?
It's green.
No, it's brown.
Oh yeah, a little
It's
bit.
brown and shattering. What are you bringing to Yehovah? Do I have a picture of a green one? Is there there's a green one right there, right there. Is that a green one there?
Yeah, right behind it.
Right there? Bring the green ears to Yehovah.
Even my 1560 Geneva says green ears.
Okay, so now go and do a word search on this. What does it mean to be green ears? Well, what to say, because many of you won't do it. Let's do it here right now. Green ears of corn. Okay, so the corn is not exactly it. Stand, pull. The pictograph represents strength. The Aleph bet. Okay, what's Aleph bet? Don't be reading down anymore. I can't cover it up. Don't. What's Aleph bet? Before you go on, what is it? Ab. Green ears is Ab. Abba. Abba. Abba is Abiv. Abba is Abiv.
Abba's father.
Oh,
Well-
yes, yes. Are you seeing what Aviv represents?
It's the same letters.
It's the same letters. Combined, these mean the strength of the house. Who's the strength of the house? Yehovah. This can be the tent poles which hold up the tent, the house, as well as the father who holds up the family, the household. What does the green ears represent? It's the beginning of all the holy days. What do the holy days represent? It's telling you the plan of Abba, the plans of Yehovah, the plans of salvation.
Hallelujah.
So, Aleph bet, fruit. This word can also be fresh fruit. The father of the next generation of trees attached to the tree. Father, the father of the family provides the strength, support, and structure to the household. The father fulfilled many functions for the family. He was the commander of the family army, provider of offspring to continue the family line, the priest, the teacher. A father can be of the immediate family of a lineage such as Jacob, who is the father of the Israelites. A father can also be a patron of a profession or art. Abba. So we have desire, the desires of the father. Aleph bet, hay. Aleph bet, grain. Aleph bet, grain. Abiba, Abiba, Aviv, Aviv. It's a B and the V are interchangeable. Aleph bet, Aviv. I'm in Tel Aviv right now. The hill of the Father. Green ears. Oh, there's green ears. Aleph bet, Yod bet.
Doesn't
Aleph
tell
bet.
mean a mountain of Abib?
It means hill or tell, or like a mountain, you know, a mountain in Israel is like anything over 10 feet, right? So Aleph bet, Yod bet. Green ears. The new green ears of growing grain as the parent seeds attached to the stalk pole. Okay, so we had pole up here, right? Yeah, pole, right there at the beginning. Pole. Green ears, where did I see that? They're just green grains. The new green ears of growing grain as the parent seed attached to the stalk pole of the next generation of crops. Also Abib, the name of the month in the Hebrew calendar. What is the month of Abib? The month of brown ears. No, it's not. It's the month of Abib, green ears. Green ears. Everywhere Randy and I went, everywhere was green ears of barley. The Jordan Valley, green ears. Riem, Be'eri, green ears.
It was
Ramah,
beautiful. to see.
Ashkelon, green ears. Haifa is all, you know, beachfront property and desert, so we didn't see nothing there. In the north, it was all flagging and green ears and flowering. Green ears. When is the month of green ears? It's right now. It's right now. What is the month that all these other people are going to be?
Month of shattered barley.
The month of brown ears. Next month will be the month of brown ears. That's why Randy and I have to come back next month to show you the month of brown ears. to make that distinction and not to let you be railroaded by people's agendas or takanot and myosin.
Well, what may happen is all of this barley you're looking at now, which is Abib, will be shattered. You won't see any brown ears. They're going to be gone. What you're going to
Unless you
see is
dig
the
down in the
second,
grass, if you dig down in the grass, you'll see all the awnings down
Yep.
there.
and then what you're going to see is the new second, third, fourth crop coming up in their ears. And then they're going to say, see, we got it right. But they don't. If you look at the bottom, you're going to find all the shattered barley.
Exactly. So we have to educate many people because we got city slickers doing this, and we have city slickers hearing this, and we don't have people that live on a farm doing this. I grew up on a farm, but I wasn't searching for barley then. I didn't know anything about it then. Okay, so now we got Aleph Yod, no, hang on, Aleph Vav Bet for wineskin. The wineskin hangs on from the tent pole. A spiritist, possibly from their mumbling like the sound of a wine poured out of the wineskin. Wineskin, a leather bag that holds wine, is hung from a pole of a tent. A medium, one who evokes the dead, a ghost possibly of their mumbling like the sound of the wind poured out of the wineskin. That's very interesting, that word. Aviv. Do you know what I see? I'm not seeing evokes a medium. I'm seeing somebody raising people from the dead by the Spirit. Desire. The firm standing in the tent pole. Okay, so that's Yod Aleph Bet. Desire, the standing firm for what is desired. Standing firm. How are you standing this Passover season? Are you firm, or are you swaying back and forth like a mumbling wineskin, murmuring wineskin? I don't know. Yes, I believe. No, I don't. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I know. Because I haven't studied. And the reason you don't know is because you have not studied. This is a subject you need to study. You need to become an authority about the calendar. You need to become an authority about the sabbatical jubilee years. You need to become an authority about what Abib is. Aviv, green ears. You need to become an authority. You need to stop letting people tell you what it means.
You need to prove it to yourself.
That means I'm no longer teaching you, but you're trying to teach me. That means none of these other people are teaching you because you now know more than they do, because you've done a study, not just a study, multiple studies, and are now teaching it to your cat and dog if you got no one else to teach it to. But teach it to somebody. Come on here to sightofmoon.com. We open this up. We allow you to be teachers. Teach the Abib here 365 days a year. That's what this platform is for, to help you become teachers. Hostile, spear, Aleph, Yod, Bet. Aleph, Yod, Bet. There it is again. Aleph, Yod, Bet. We go back up here. Where's Aleph, Yod, Bet? I've seen it here already. Aleph, Vav, Bet. Okay, so Aleph, Yod, Bet. Hostile, spear, enemy. What did we read in the Torah portion yesterday? Joshua holding up his spear. He held up his green ears. His Aleph Yod Bet. Doubles as a spear, which can be used against an enemy to defend, also support the family. Hostile, to be hostile to another is as an enemy. Aleph Yod Bet. Hostility, Aleph Yod Bet Hey. Hostility towards another person, enemy. So Abib, fresh, young, not old, not mature, not dying, fresh, young barley ears. The month of ear forming. Okay, whoa, the month of ear forming, of greening. So when it comes out of the plant, Randy, what color is the barley when it comes out of the plant? Yellow. It's kind of yellow. As it's flowering, it's kind of yellow. Then it starts to turn to a green, and a white when it's about to be ready. Of greening of crop, of growing green, Abib, month of Exodus, of Passover. What month did they leave? It was cold. They had glaciers. What time of month did Joshua cross the Jordan? It was cold. The waters were heaped up again. They were frozen up above. Peter, when Yeshua was killed, was warming himself by the fire. 2 years ago, Randy and I are wearing our big winter coats out looking for barley, which was Abib then. And we were freezing, and it was sleet and hail as we drove back to Jerusalem. This nonsense that they can't have Abib barley because it's wet or raining or hailing is nonsense. Don't fall for it.
Look at the flax and barley were smitten with the hail.
The hail. It was cold. We've now got flax just starting. Well, you got to have flax to have the Passover. No, you don't. There's no flax needed for the Wave Sheaf Day. Abib. So we're talking about green ears, emerging green ears. From an unused root, to be tender. To be tender. Look at the stalk beside me here. Is that a tender stalk? No, it's solid. It's rock hard. What's a tender stalk? Maybe that one there, right? That green one there. I'm not too sure. Is that green? The month.
Another thing is that they are standing up. Like I said before, they're full of moisture. They're turgid. They're standing up until they start to dry and remove the moisture. The heads won't come down.
It's the month of green ears. And this is the part that nobody's comprehending. What they're trying to do is match up the month of Abib with the Hillel calendar so that we can all be keeping the feast at the same day. Instead of repenting and returning to Torah and having the Hillel return to Torah, we're trying to adjust to match Hillel. So, whoops, what did I do? Wrong one.
You'll need to share screen again, Joe.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out what am I doing here? Where am I? Okay. So the month of Abib is what now? You all know this now. It's the month of green ears. So going around finding this barley brown like this, that tells us that we're at the end of that life cycle. Roasted by fire, greens of the garden, green ears roasted by fire, green ears roasted by fire, green ears roasted by fire. Everyone say that. Green ears roasted by fire, green ears roasted by fire. What are you looking for? Green ears roasted by fire. It's a whole month of it. This is what's going to be next month. Okay. So now that we understand what's going to be roasted and how you present it as an offering to Yehovah, where is this coming from? What commandment is this? Like, you know, so we go to now Leviticus 23. If it ain't here, like Christmas is not in here. Halloween's not in here. Purim's not in here. Hanukkah's not in here. Ramadan's not in here. If it's here, that's what you keep. There's no dispute. There's no argument. There's no debate. It's there. You keep it. Everything else is debatable. First fruits, Leviticus 23, verse 9. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when you have come into the land which I give to you, and shall reap the harvest of it, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest. A sheaf would be an armful. To the priest. And he shall wave. So you're not taking the sheaf and waving it. We just read how you present the sheaf. You present it as a omer. Okay, so this word, okay, let's look up this word sheaf here. We got to do that right now because people are going to question it. What is the sheaf here? The sheaf is to bind, sheaf, to bind, wool, sheaf, sheaf. Oh, look at the word, the Hebrew word for sheaf. Omer. That's where the word omer, you're going to take an omer, a measure of a dry measure of 1/10 of an ephah, about 2 liters. How much is 2 liters of dry measure? Take a carton of milk that's 2 liters. That's your dry measure. That's a liquid measure, but now that's the same as a dry measure, approximately, right? An omer is an approximation.
And that would be the stuk with about an omer of head on it.
Yeah. Like people make this out to be more complicated than what it is. Yehovah knows he's dealing with idiots, and he's made it as simple as possible for all of us to understand. All you got to do is just do what I'm doing. We're just doing a little word search. It's not rocket science. You don't have to be a Jew to understand this. You don't have to live in the land to understand this. All you have to do is understand what Yehovah's saying. It makes more sense when you're over here looking and understand that. So a sheaf is an omer. And he shall wave the omer, the sheaf, before Yehovah to be received for you. On the next day, after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Which Sabbath? It's the Sabbath during the 7 days of unleavened bread. So after this weekly Sabbath, the Saturday Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. So that's Sunday morning. That's what today is. Today is the last day for unleavened bread. You are commanded to eat unleavened bread for 7 days. You're commanded to eat unleavened bread for only 7 days. And you're commanded to eat unleavened bread with your Passover meal, which tells you when the Passover is going to be eaten during the days of unleavened bread. From the 15th to the 21st are the 7 days of unleavened bread. And today is the 21st day. And this year, the 21st day happens to be so far into the month that the month is almost over. And we're waiting for the barley to be aviv. So let me finish reading this. And you shall offer that day when you wave the sheaf, a male lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering to Yehovah. And its food offering shall be 2/10 part of fine flour mixed with oil, a fire offering to Yehovah for a sweet savor. And the drink offering of it shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread, nor parched grain, nor green ears. You're not to eat anything until the same day, until you have brought an offering to your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. So I was going to go to something else. I'm going to probably forget what I was going to go to, but we got to go to Deuteronomy 16:9 right now.
Just while you're going there, Joe.
Hang on, Paul.
Right. Just
You shall count 7 weeks to yourselves. Begin to count the 7 weeks from the time that you put the sickle to the grain. When do you put the sickle to the grain? When you make your wave offering. When do you put the sickle to the grain? When you make your wave offering. When do you put your sickle to the grain? When you make your wave offering. When do you make your wave? Have you got it? When do you put the sickle to the grain? If you are putting the sickle to the grain and the barley, because you're afraid of losing your crop, then that's telling you you put the month of green ears at the wrong time. You've made an obvious mistake. I got to harvest my crop or I'm going to lose it. then that tells you you made a mistake if you haven't already made the wave offering. We've now done the wave offering. Today is wave offering day. We've now done it. All these farmers are now free to go and harvest, and nobody's going to lose their crop. But everyone's going to lose their crop if they wait till next month. And if they wait till the month after that, it's going to be even worse. Paul, what do you want to say?
The day after the weekly Sabbath, there's just a question there. Just look up Sabbath there. Is it not a high day or is it the weekly day? Because you know and I know it is, but a lot of people and a lot of people in the Jewish side of things will go to the Joshua account of doing the count from the day after the first day of Passover. Is their high Sabbath. So what is it clear in understanding it's after the weekly Sabbath or is it after the high Sabbath?
So let me
Because
get up
there's
let me show
I just
you,
want to look at that.
because
Because a
here,
lot of us get confused with that.
why? Because you get not
No,
just because you don't study into it. You believe what people tell
no.
you.
I realize what you're saying. It's just that I'm trying to teach people myself that there's
Yep.
two Sabbaths. One is called the Sabbaton, one is called the Sabbath. The thing is, the weekly Sabbath, does that what's that's meaning here, or is there an explanation of what that Sabbath means? So, because the Jews say it's after the high Sabbath, but is God saying here after the weekly Sabbath? Does the Sabbath indicate what is actually meaning? Is it after the weekly Sabbath or after a high Sabbath here?
So
I
the
know
year
that it
they
means
entered
after
the promised land was a Jubilee year, and that year was 1337 BC. So
Yeah.
here's the second month in Torah calendar, and it tells you that the 15th was on Saturday.
Yes.
They killed the Passover lamb and they kept the Passover meal. And the morrow after the meal, after the Passover lamb, is the 16th day, which is Wave Sheaf Day.
That's right.
And that's the day that they killed, or they made the wave offering. Now, so you can get that. Let's stop here. Let me go back here. And let me go to Joshua. We're going to go Joshua 5, verse 10. We just read this in our Torah portions. Joshua 5, verse 10. And the sons of Israel camped in Gilgal, which is, up in the Jordan Valley. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. Now, I just showed you that. They kept it, so it's the evening of the 14th. It's the start of the 15th. That's the Passover day. It's a holy day.
Yes.
Randy? And they ate of the, on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. And they ate of the old grains of the land on the next day. What was the next day? Sunday. After the Passover, unleavened cakes and roasted grains in the same day. The Sunday, they ate the same grains, right? It was
Yes.
the 16th of Nisan that year.
That's right. But it changes. But they have perpetuated this timing as to be every year.
So by taking this Joshua event here and saying that that was the 16th day, everyone knows it's the 16th day. It's obviously the 16th day.
Yeah.
It's now become, in Jewish circles, the month of begins on the Wave Sheaf Day is the 16th day. They don't do a wave offering. They don't even do the barley offering. They have nothing to do with that. It doesn't mean anything to them. What they do is they start their count from the 16th to Shavuot. And that's all it is to them, a day to start their counting. The manna stopped on the next day after they had eaten the old grain. So on Monday, the manna stopped. And there was no more manna to the sons of Israel, but they ate the fruit of the land in Canaan that year. Why? Because it was a Jubilee year for them.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, I just want to go back from my understanding this last year. The Jews did Passover on the
The Jews haven't done
Friday.
Passover this year.
No,
Or
last year.
last year.
Last year, Passover was on a Friday. They did the wave offering on the Sabbath. Okay. On the Sabbath was their wave offering. So they counted 7 times 7 Sabbaths when it's actually 8 Sabbaths they did. And they
Yeah,
didn't
but
count them.
they-
So, you know,
they
that's just
don't
what
do
I
a wave
tried to
offering,
point
Paul.
out to them. Yeah, I know. But that's what I was trying to point out to them. You're not following 7 Sabbaths, you're doing 8 Sabbaths. And they couldn't grasp it because they were doing their way of doing it. This was what I was trying to get at. You know, it was getting misunderstood.
Well, the
That's all
Jewish
right.
tradition is what most people will follow because it's tradition. The Jews know better than anyone else because we're Jewish.
That's right. I understand that.
And so you need to go back to the Torah and get people to actually read it, which is what we do here.
Yes. I
We're
understand.
not following any takanot ma'asim of anybody. And if I ever create a takanot ma'asim, I think there's enough people here that will chew my ear
Yeah.
off and bend my
Yeah.
elbow to straighten up. So
And
now
you do.
let's-
Same thank you.
So now that's what the Jews do. That's how they perverted this, and that's why their timing's off on this subject for
Good
Shavuot.
point, Paul. Good point.
But they don't do a wave offering.
No, they don't. They
don't
don't.
look for the barley. They don't consider it. And what do we say? I read it 2 times, 3 times. It's the most holy to Yehovah.
Yeah.
The wave offering is most holy. Why? That's what, answer that question. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this afternoon. You will know this afternoon. Why is sightedmoon.com, why is Joe Dumont so gung-ho about the wave offering? There
Because
are
it's
other
the most
people
holy.
hang on, Paul, let me finish. There are other people
Yeah.
out there that think they have just discovered a new thing about Jesus and Jesus this and Jesus that. And they bring Jesus into everything that it is about the barley. And they miss the meaning of the barley altogether.
Yes.
You have to understand how important the wave offering is to Yehovah.
Yes.
It's crucial. It's vital for the plan of salvation.
I understand that.
So we will get into that this afternoon. But going back to Deuteronomy 16, do you have it memorized yet? Deuteronomy 16, verse 9. Glenn, you do have it memorized. You shall count 7 weeks to yourselves. Begin to count the 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle. You begin to put the sickle. You begin to put the sickle to the grain. You begin to put the sickle to the grain when you make your wave offering. And if you have to put your sickle to the grain because your crop's about to go in the ground, then you've misunderstood what green ears are and you have started in the wrong month. So I got Kirk, Kirk, are you still there? I always got to check them in case Kirk's gone to sleep.
Well, it's good to check once in a while because sometimes it happens.
Yes. Kirk, I want you to get all the information about the Little Dipper. I want the names of all the stars in the Little Dipper. Can you do that for me? I'm going to call you in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can dig it up. Give me a minute.
Okay, I'm going to give you 5. So get them
The
all.
Little Dipper or the Big
Just the
Dipper?
Little Dipper.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
find it. Sure. Yep.
So we presented our barley report. We went out with Becca, and I know she got a different position this year than what I thought she had before. She says it's always been that way. Okay, fine. I didn't know that. Which caused me to have to come here this year to check the barley because I believe that it's important to have wave sheaf barley by Wave Sheaf Day. Or actually, if you really, really think about it, all you got to do is look at the pictures. It's the green ears. But how mature are they? What is the state of the land? Randy and I have gone from the north to the south. We've gone from the east to the west. We have covered all the places in between. We've seen the state of the barley. We didn't sit in our office and say, you know, it's so-and-so and not have any pictures. Somebody's done that. So we went out with Becca, and Becca's confirmed that the barley is almost Aviv in our, you know, many of the places that we looked at. Okay, thank you. I'm still friends with Becca. I hope, I think. I believe I'm friends with Yoel Halevi, and I don't know Devorah, but I've written Devorah and I've written Yoel Halevi, and I've asked them if we can go out together. I've not heard back. Okay, so you can ask them, you know, and remind them, Joe's there. He's already declared the month of Aviv, and they haven't even gone out yet. But Devorah is supposed to be keeping Passover 2 months from now, because she declared another Adar bet last year. And because of that, she should be looking for the barley at the end of this next month. But because I put out my report, and then Becca had to put out a report, you know, to counter whatever I was going to say, Devorah caught wind. Now Devorah's going to go out and look for the barley this month. You shouldn't be looking for the barley this month if it's 2 months away for your Passover. So Devorah is admitting by looking for the barley now that she has clearly made a mistake last year in her calculations. The Karaites and Michael Rood, Keith Johnson, Nehemiah, they all divorced themselves from Devorah last year, and they went a month earlier than she did. We have these problems with understanding what the month of green ears is. It's green ears, not brown ears. It's the month of green. This is the month of green ears. And yes, during the Middle Ages, the Karaites argued over what this was. So what we have going on here has not changed in all this time. We still have this debate as to what it is. I get it. I understand. And that's why I'm not slamming anybody or lashaharing anybody who disagrees with me. But some people think that they can lashahara other people. Great, knock yourselves out. I have a judge watching over me, and it's the time of judgment now, and he's judging all of us. So, you know, we're at the end of this age. Now it's not the time to be screwing up. Okay. So I want to do one little thing here with Kurt just for a few minutes. Kurt, if you are ready, do you have a picture of the Little Dipper? And do you have the names of all the stars?
Photograph, no. I can give you the names right now.
Okay, so write down the name. I want to write them down. So tell me the names of the Little Dipper.
Okay, so in Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper, or also the Lesser Fold, right? Kokab. So I'll give you the English letters and you can transfer them to Hebrew because that's what
Oh, no,
got
just,
here.
I want you, can you tell me what the meaning of each star is?
Okay, so Kokab, waiting him who cometh. Al-Furcadian or Furcad, the calves.
Hang on, give me the word. I got to write, I want to write this down. So what's the second one?
Furcad, so P-H-E-R-K-A-D, the calves.
The calves, okay.
Or young. It also says Hebrew, the redeemed assembly. It refers to Deuteronomy 22:6. This is coming from Rolliston's book.
Yep.
Al-Gedi.
Deuteronomy what?
22:6.
Okay, Kurt, which ones are you talking about? Which are the?
Say again.
You can don't worry about that. You guys can all look that up later. So just Kurt,
Okay.
just give me another star name here. The third one.
It's Al-Gedi. The kid.
Spell it out.
Gedi. Gedi.
The
Like
kid.
Gad. Al-Rukaba. Ruccaba. Rukaba. That's the pole star, the turned or ridden on. And you can add my own thoughts on that is he who lights with stars. Because
Okay.
of Kokab.
Okay.
Alkaid, Kaid, assembled. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing a couple here. Arcus or Arctos, traveling company. That one's connected directly to the Big Dipper because there's one in there that says a company of travelers walking. And that's 6 of the 7. I'm not sure. I'd have to dig a little harder to find the last one.
Okay, so that's all you got then? That's awesome. Thank you very much.
That's what I've got for now.
So, what time is it? What time is it Eastern time zone right now?
It's 11:29 here, so it's 12:29 Eastern.
Okay, so 12:29, so it's about time for me to stop. So this is good. You now should understand what green ears are. That's important. You should now understand that this is the most holy of fire offerings to Yehovah. Did he say it 2 or 3 times? I'm sure 2, I'm not sure about 3. It's the most holy fire offering. What does that mean? Why? Why am I asking Kurt about this little dipper? What's that got to do with anything? And why are these names in here that he's English names? What does that mean? Okay, so I'm leaving you with a number of questions that you can think about as I'm going to go. Well, you can go for lunch. I think Randy's eating everything in the fridge. We got cheese left. So cheese and wine and cheese. That's all we got left in the fridge.
Joe?
Kurt, yes, sir.
Can you add to your list?
Yep.
Another word. Looks like it's a Greek word. Synosurs. So
how do you spell it?
Cynosurs. And it means center or base of the constellations. Mazarot.
The foundation.
That's it.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. So I'm giving you all these things this morning. We've done the wave offering. We've done the Exodus route. We've crossed the Red Sea. We've been given the commandments at this bitter waters place. The commandments were given then. They already knew them before they went to Mount Sinai. They planted the tree on the water. That ties into Revelation, the trees along the river. All this stuff is connected together. And if you're new, awesome. You are so privileged to learn these things. Think about them and come back this afternoon at 2 o'clock, somber, 2 o'clock. So that's about an hour and a half from now.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Hour and a half from now. So that's 8:39.
You gonna go get a pizza?
We can go buy food right now. Randy's already out the door. We can buy a big baked old pizza with hamburgers and buns and not have to throw the buns away. So funny the little things that you miss, right? So because I don't want to give away this afternoon. You kind of all know where I'm going this afternoon. Is there any question about anything I've talked about here so far this morning? If you're new, you're allowed to talk, you're allowed to ask questions, so don't be shy. We're here to try and help you understand. Okay. Then, can I ask Glenn, or can someone else? Who have you got closing prayer? Glenn, I've asked you voluntold. Would you do the closing prayer, sir?
Sure. Okay. Father in heaven, great and almighty God, creator of all things, I am so glad that you are who you are. There is no other. There is no other than you. You're perfect. Your plan is perfect. I love the layout of the way you've shown us what your plan is, revealing it to those who want to know it. Thank you for that. Thank you for this day. This is the pinnacle day of all the feast days that sets everything up for the year. Thank you for revealing it to all of us. Thank you for sending both Joe and Randy over there to get a confirmation of your proof that this is the correct day, that this is the beginning of green ears, and we have kept it in faith. And we're so glad that you've pricked us in our hearts to do that and to keep it without sinning. Thank you so much for that. And I ask you to gather all us back again this afternoon to get through the cliffhanger that Joe has left us. And we really appreciate all of the brethren. We appreciate Joe, Randy, Somber, all those who put this together, Shauna, everyone. Thank you for them. We're all a body together. We're all a piece of the body. We all contribute to it. And we thank you for bringing us together for that, and ask you to do that again this afternoon. In your holy name, Yehovah, our Yeshua. Amen.
Amen. One more thing before we sign off. If you did not keep Passover last week, a week ago tonight, then that's fine. I'm not condemning you. This was a tough year this year to figure this out. And there's been a lot of information or misinformation to sort through. So I want you to know that you're more than welcome here. I'm not here to bang your head or beat up on you. There is a second Passover. You can repent if you think that you've now erred, or if you haven't, then carry on with what you're doing. That's fine. But you take it up with Yehovah. I'm not your judge. I'm not judging you. Look at Randy over here. I've got to live with him. I can't judge him all the time. It's just an unending story. So I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm here to show you what I've learned and what I'm teaching. So please do not think that we are condemning anyone. We are not. We're going to argue passionately our position and do it in love. So you're more than welcome. It's up to you. You're to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And that's between you and Yehovah. Not got anything to do with me. So please don't let me, if I sound that I'm intimidating you, then please, I'm not. Or I don't mean to be. But I'm going to present my case strongly, very strongly. I've got the evidence right there. Somber, did you have your hand up, or are you just waving at me?
No, I just got my thing poised and ready to pause the recording.
Joe,
Okay.
I have a quick question. Am I allowed to go to the grocery store and pick up what I need for my roast, or do I need to figure something else out?
Say again, you just got blurted here. What?
I just thought about it. Am I allowed to go to the store and go pick something up, or is today a high holy day? I'm not supposed to do that.
Today's
Well, I'm in Israel right now, and let me just share on screen me background, choose virtual background, none. If you look outside, it's black.
It's evening for you.
7:30 at night here. So our holy day is now ended for us. we might go out and get a pizza. Because like Randy's eating everything out of the fridge. But for you, you're still in your holy day.
Right,
Holy day does not end until sunset,
right.
right?
Okay.
So it's a holy day.
Roast will have to be
Day of
tomorrow.
unleavened bread. It's a holy day. You do not buy or sell on the holy day. You do not do business on the holy day. If you're reaching for your wallet, you're doing business. It's a holy day.
Okay.
So, keep it holy.
Peanut
And
butter and jelly
blessed by
sandwiches.
Yehovah.
Gotcha. It's peanut butter and jelly. Thanks, Joe.
Hey,
With
either that or
unleavened
fast.
bread.
Doesn't matter. Some of you
Oh,
go
that's
fast,
right.
you go
Peanut
week-
butter and jelly on
week-long fast.
matzah. Cindy's going, that's good. The peanut butter and jelly on matzah.
Is there any other questions that anyone has about the things we've talked about so far?
There was a question in the chat from Maria. You wanna pick that one up or not?
What's it say? I don't know where it is.
Is there any connection between the ribbon of the goat on the goat, Yehovah, and the ribbon around the barley? Like she talked about.
Oh, the ribbon, okay, the ribbon that's tied to the goat's hair and the ribbon around the barley. I don't know, there could be. There's a study you can go do and come back and tell us what you find out. As of right now, I don't think there's a connection, but there might be. That's one I've not really dove into so much. Anyone else before we go?
Are we keeping the room open
Yeah,
during the break?
we'll keep the room open and you can chat and maybe you can figure out what I'm talking about this afternoon. But yeah, it's open.
Play
Okay.
some moving music.
Yes. Sombra?